Hi, I'm Austin. I'm a student here at Georgia State University in Film 270, but aside from that, I'm also a makeup artist. Now, my passion for makeup made me instantly think of this topic for my film project. I wanted to do the history of makeup in horror movies. Now, as we probably know, makeup has kind of declined in horror movies as it's gone to a lot of CGI effects. So hopefully through this video lecture I'll be able to present to you the history, the tradition, the richness that was horror movie makeup. So enjoy the ride. Now, most people consider The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari to be the first horror movie. This German expressionistic movie is a really awkward and strange movie with lots of weird angles and acting. Now, the makeup in this movie is the basis of all makeup, theatrical or not, and which is simply to enhance the features. The black makeup you see here on the eye is not really to transform the character or change him, it's just to enhance his features. And for the audience to see this, they wouldn't necessarily see it as being something unhuman. They would see it as a human character. So the choice with this makeup, it was done with grease paint. So that was pretty much all they had back then. But the one problem with grease paint is that it's very, very thick and it's hard to work with. Not to mention that it's hard to use on the actor's skin. So as you can see, the simplistic makeup was partially because they didn't need to have complex makeup, but also because they were very limited in what they could do with the grease paint that they had. When Nosferatu came out in 1922, it truly brought in a new age of makeup, more similar to the one we know today. For this character of Count Orlok, Max Schreck applied his own makeup, which consisted of a bald cap, fake teeth, hair, finger extensions, and of course lots and lots of grease paint. That's why in his makeup we don't see a lot of individual details, but it's very washed out with just dark circles around his eyes because, like I said, it's very limited to what you could do with grease paint. Now, for the first time, audience goers, when they saw this movie, no longer were they seeing a basic human or human actor on screen. They were seeing a monster. This is the first time. It was just unhuman. No audience had seen this before except in their dreams or maybe in carnivals. So when they saw this, it was very different to what they'd seen, as most movies would show very realistic things. Even though it was very twisted, such as the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, in this case, that movie, it still had human elements. And this one, it was very inhumane. It was just crazy. People did not know what to expect. So aside from makeup, there was also interesting camera angles that enhanced the effect of Max Schreck, such as looking up at him to make him look taller, which is also a combination of the film and makeup, which made audience goers go wild. Plus the fact Max Schreck was kind of a weird-looking guy. It all enhanced to the overall feature of creating the infamous Count Orlok. Perhaps the most famous makeup of the 1920s was that of the Man of 1,000 Faces, Lon Chaney. Whether it be his makeup in Hunchback of Notre Dame or Phantom of the Opera or countless other movies at the time, he was usually always in some sort of crazy makeup that he applied himself. His makeup usually consisted of fake teeth and nose putty, as well as, dun dun dun, grease paint. His oddly realistic makeup gave audience the first viewing of something that was almost human but not quite. And his innovative makeup techniques revolutionized makeup for the first time, with someone's face was totally unrecognizable. Because even in the previous movie that we described, in Nosferatu, when that came out, his face was very recognizable. If you look at pictures of Max Schreck in and out of makeup, it's very similar, and you could tell that he played Count Orlok. But with Lon Chaney, he transformed his face so much that you could not even tell it was him. And this is the first time you couldn't even recognize an actor. And his usually grotesque characters was perhaps one of the first, if not the first, shock of the horror movies. Before that, it was very creep and kind of eerie sense. But especially in Phantom of the Opera, when the mask comes off for the first time, that shocked the audience because no one expected to see such a grotesque, gruesome, nasty creature. But Lon Chaney did it, and he's perhaps the most famous actor that applied his own makeup. The next decade brought us talkies into the film world, and the horror movie was revolutionized. Not only could you see the screaming, you could hear it too. And now in this video, pardon all the little trailer things because it's a commercial. But anyways, for this era, you're probably instantly thinking of Bela Lugosi and Dracula. But he had no makeup on. He just had that vampire look. So we're just going to skip over him and go to the one and only Boris Karloff. His makeup is probably the most recognizable in film history, especially in Frankenstein. This was the first time a studio had brought in their own makeup artist to work on films, as before that the actors usually did their own makeup. Equipped with wire clamps, fake electrodes, a headpiece, putty, and of course, grease paint, makeup artist Jack Pierce created the iconic monster. Jack Pierce was a makeup artist for all the Hollywood horror movies of this time, especially the Universal ones. And he created Frankenstein, and he also did The Mummy with cotton, spirit gum, collodion, and clay. He gave the mind a visualization to what the world was thinking about, the discovery of King Tut. With The Mummy, everyone was able to see what they had been hearing about, because the discovery of King Tut is still fresh on everyone's mind, and they wanted to know what it was. So through this makeup, it provided a visualization of what people could see. And it also was like this for any of the movies. The Creatures from the Black Lagoon, it brought forth the visualization of what people wanted to see, but they could never actually see it. And now, another one of the most amazing things that Universal did was they showed a transformation on film for the first time. This is seen in Lon Chaney Jr.'s movie of the Wolfman, as he sat frame by frame and gradually changed into the Wolfman. This time-lapse created one of the most amazing effects in movie history. Now, unfortunately, the 1950s just really wasn't a big time for makeup. During this era, they focused heavily on realism. So the makeup that was there was all simple stage makeup and similar makeup that would be used in everyday wear, like foundation, just basic eyeliner, stuff like that. So nothing too extreme. And that was pretty much the entire 50s. Like, as I said, it was very realistic, and a lot of it was very dark. But it had that sense of humanness to it that a lot of these past films lacked, as they were more focused on grand, grotesque monsters. Now, to the 1960s to the 1990s, the makeup innovation, they changed, but not too much. The main innovation that was the biggest was that of molding and sculpting prosthetics. Through sculpting, casting, and using different materials such as rubber, silicone, latex, gelatin, they were able to create countless types of makeup. And especially this time, the slasher film was very popular. So of course the makeup wasn't so focused on detail as it was in just bloody, gory, bleh. So one of the things that was really interesting, since they used so much blood and so much prosthetics, was that the makeup was countless as what they could do. They were able to create so much more creatures, more monsters, especially in the later as we get to the 80s and 90s. This makeup period, there was no revolutionary one except for one, which was An American Werewolf in London. It was through time frames and prosthetics and animatronics, which was a new invention that totally blew everything else out of the park. They were able to show a transformation of werewolf on film, unlike that of Lon Chaney Jr., which was done frame by frame. This one was done in a continuous shot through animatronics. And now we are at the age of CGI. But there are still a few films that encompass the true beauty of makeup. When people think of movie makeup today, they instantly think of Guillermo del Toro's work, especially Pan's Labyrinth. With CGI taking over stuff, Guillermo del Toro still has that drive to use practical effects as well as traditional makeup, although these are much more complicated than what we saw in the 40s and the 30s. These are full-body prosthetics made out of everything from silicone, latex, gelatin, everything you could imagine to create a crazy, amazing, fantastic look. These makeups are truly what makeup has evolved to over the years, to create something that's so real you can't even tell that it's makeup. So I hope you've enjoyed my presentation on movie makeup and seen the progress it's made from simple grease paint to everything but grease paint. That's just beautiful. So I thank you for your time. Have an awesome day.